Deconverted man here. Did you think I was going to yell? Probably did. But I didn't do it this time. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. Alright, what do atheists say, according to this guy on YouTube? Let's find out what we say. We probably don't say it, but he's going to say that we say it. And then he's going to say stuff that just doesn't make sense. And then I have to tell him why it doesn't make sense. Not that he'll watch my video, but I'm still going to do it. So, yeah, let's do that. Sure. Why not? It's a thing to do. And we're doing it. Here we go. Yeah.
What is up, everyone? I hope you're having a blessed day today. This person asks, atheists say science is the main evidence against God. I believe that science is actually the main evidence for God.
You know, I've never heard or read from an actual atheist the statement that science disproves God. Haven't ever seen that. I've heard theists say that atheists have said this. I've heard theists say that science proves God. I've also heard theists say that science can't prove God. And some theists will even admit that science can neither prove nor disprove God. But atheists don't say this, as far as I'm aware. And if you have a example, that would be nice. If you have many examples, that would be even better, but you don't. So I don't believe that this is something that atheists have said. Rather, I think that it's a easy straw man construct to knock down. Science is a methodological process that we humans have invented over time to try to figure out what the belief is going on. And many have said that Christians were among the first early scientists because they wanted to figure out how God did all this stuff. That might be true, that Christians might be among the first scientists, although I think there was other scientists before that and during that time. But regardless, figuring out how all this works is essentially science. You look at something, you go, okay, what is this thing? And you describe it as best you can, and then you see if you can open it, and you're like, oh, well, it's got all this stuff inside. What is all this? It's something, I don't know what this is, and I don't know how this works, and what is this for, and what does this do, and why does it light up, and if you put this on this and it kind of glows, ooh, what's that about? I don't know. And you write all it down and you make observations, and then you invite other people to also check out this thing and write, make sure that you got it right. And, and you test and you probe and you investigate. And that's how we figured out a whole bunch of stuff. And then we built on the giants of others. You take the work that's already been done, you stand on it, and then you do more. And it's a wonderful exploration that we have of how things work. But the problem with God is that there simply isn't a God to examine. If there is a God to examine, great. Then present us with that God so that we can examine it. If you cannot present us with a God to examine, then no science can be done on it. If there's no thing to investigate, then you can't investigate it. If no test can be run on it, it is not scientific in nature. And most importantly, if there's no way to falsify it, then it definitely isn't science. So if you are somebody that says nothing and no one could ever convince me that there isn't a God, or there must be a God, or something like that, or everything proves God, you've essentially admitted that God is not a scientific thing. There cannot be science for something that isn't a thing. So, what is God? Well, people have tried to figure out what God is, and there may or may not be experiments that you can perform that would indicate that God exists. There have been studies done trying to determine if there's a soul. Some of these experiments were really bad, and thus we didn't actually learn anything, and others are better. But it's based on some assumptions, like, well, maybe the soul weighs something, or maybe there's some way to detect the soul. There has to be something to look at. And we don't know, because the soul is defined by the human, who then says, well, how do I find this thing that is called supernatural? And so it's in this other category. Well, you don't even know that that other category even exists, but you're putting it there and then saying, well, I can't examine that. So science has nothing to say about the existence or non-existence of God, which is neither a point in your favor or against it. It does, I do think, suggest that perhaps God is an abstract object of the mind and nothing else. Where's the thing? There we go.
I'm an extremely logical person. I believe whatever has the most proof. I am not blindly following God. The extensiveness and unlikeliness of existence is one reason why. How complex and intricate science and evolution are basically screams God's name.
How? Because something is complex or complicated, how does that scream God's name? What's your methodology? What's your argument?
Atheists say science supports itself, but what continues to allow science to support itself?
Atheists don't say that science supports itself. That's a meaningless sentence that is incoherent. I don't think that any atheist has said that, other than as a joke, perhaps. But this is more assertions about what supposedly atheists say when you have no example. So you're just lying. But on top of that, of course, it's a straw man. It's not actually an argument that anyone's produced, so it's a construct straw man. It's something you're making up. Science doesn't need to support itself. It's a methodology. It's observations of what's around us, documented and then probed by other people. That's it. It's not something that you have to support. It just works because you observe a thing and then you write down what that thing is, and then somebody else is like, oh, is that really the thing? And they do the same thing, and if they come to the same results, then they agree, and if not, then there's a disagreement, and you get more and more people involved. And I mean, I already explained it to you. It's like you don't know what the bleep science is or something.
And how did it come to be that way apart from intelligent design?
Intelligent design of what? Science? Well, humans made science, so I guess.
Chaos cannot make order, and order cannot make chaos.
Well, how do you know that? How do you know that chaos doesn't make order, or that order doesn't make chaos? In fact, order makes chaos all the time. What are you talking about that it doesn't? Yeah, no. What? Did you really just say that?
Fine. Chaos cannot make order, and order cannot make chaos.
Yeah, he did. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. order can make chaos. What are you saying?
Please give reasons against my argument. I would love to respond. Very interesting thought. Um, I would love to hear down below what you think about what this person is writing about and just what you think.
How old is this Reddit post? Why didn't you link to it? Where did you find this? Where? What? You didn't? Why? Why not link to it? I want to know how old this is. Um, this isn't even an argument that they're making. They're saying a bunch of things that don't make logical sense. So what's this guy got to say about what they said?
On this topic. As for myself, I find I find a little bit of it I don't agree with, like the part where it says chaos cannot make order and order cannot make chaos. I That's the one part that really stuck out as I was reading it. Um, Order can make chaos. I know that for sure. I've
Well, thank goodness he's on that side of reason.
been at a place where they try to implement. I was working there, and they try to implement a new system to organize things and make it better. Creates total chaos, right? Was actually a very organized way to do things, but nonetheless created very much chaos. And sometimes chaos does bring order, even after a really um, horrific, natural disaster or something very chaotic. It can actually help, um, new life grow and bring a new sense of balance to things.
Hey, well, at least he got that right. The objection to those parts are pretty much spot on. So yeah, hey, all right. Let's see if he keeps going with the logic here.
So that's the one part that really stuck out with me. I understand being an extremely logical person and having that somewhat at times get in the way with your belief in your faith and stuff like that. And I think it's just kind of a misstep, as in, like, you're using a good tool for the wrong thing. Like, you can have an amazing hammer, but if you try to saw with it, you're going to have a lot of trouble. And in
It's an interesting admission there, whether it's intended or not, that logic is the wrong tool for faith. So I'm not supposed to apply logic to faith then? I don't know about that. I'm going to apply logic to everything, especially faith. And if it's the wrong tool for it, oh well, too bad for faith. Maybe I don't need faith then. Maybe I just need facts.
some ways, I think our brain is a complex, amazing gift, but we're always trying to overburden it with predicting the future and, trying to have it reason faith. It's I almost feel like it's something that you shouldn't even burden your brain with. It's something that you
Yeah, just don't think about it. You know, don't waste your energy. Don't burden your brain with overthinking things. Goodness forbid that you use your brain. Just believe. That's what you're saying. No,
feel in your heart.
just
And
feel it.
when you
Don't
try
think.
to
Just
use
feel.
your brain for something it
Yeah.
wasn't meant to be used for, like
Oh,
predict the
okay.
future. You weren't meant to predict the future. Part
You weren't meant to predict the future. Who said anything about that? What?
of the beauty of life is the journey and not knowing what's going to happen. So when we're trying to force
Eh?
our brain to do this thing it was never meant to do, predict the future,
What?
it's actually um going to fight back. Yes, your brain
What?
does fight back. It
What?
fights back with anxiety. It
Huh?
fights back with these other negative
What
emotions
are you
that
talking
you weren't meant
about?
to hold within. But if you're trying to use this amazing piece of hardware
Eh?
you have for something like predicting the future or justifying God in your faith, it kind of can hurt you the same way using a tool the wrong way can, hurt you at the very.
So the predicting the future part is irrelevant. I don't know, whatever. But I love that he is saying, don't use your brain to believe in God. Don't use it. Just stop thinking. Stop trying to understand your faith. Just feel it. It's so good when the apologist does my work for me. I don't need to tell you to be skeptical of everything that this guy has said, because I think it's obvious that this isn't reasonable or logical by definition. He's saying don't use logic or reason. Just throw it out. Don't need it. Wow.
Very least make you sore and uncomfortable and make the process difficult. So in some ways, I feel like science does support the evidence for God
In
if
what
you're
way?
open to that, and that's the lens you're viewing science through. I think it totally.
If you're viewing the lens through whatever the hell that means, then maybe you don't need a lens. How about that? I don't know. It's just an idea. Maybe you just need to look at it and not put on a lens or, Bible goggles or whatever. I don't know. But if you are looking at science cross-eyed, then you're not going to see it right. If you're looking at science and you don't understand science, you're not going to understand it. You gotta learn stuff. Use your brain, which you said not to use in regards to faith. Hi, Captive Desk. CD in the house. Okay.
Totally proves that there is a God.
In what way?
And vice versa. If you
Eh?
want to use science to disprove the existence of God,
Uh-huh.
people try to do that as well. So it's all about your intentions, I feel like, when you're,
Eh?
using science. And I heard this beautiful quote where they said, science and religion are two languages telling the same story. And I really.
Well, who said that quote? I have a better quote for you. Science hasn't made up its mind yet, but religion has. There's a quote. And science studies, religion insists. Religion is static, science is ever changing. Religion is about tradition and culture, ceremony, certain rituals, usually about community, sometimes, doesn't have to be, may or may not involve a particular meeting area. Science isn't constrained to those things. Anybody can do science at any point, and in a way, I'm engaging in a type of science now by investigating your words and analyzing them to see if they match up with reality. And when you're telling me to basically not use my brain when it comes to faith, I'm going to say no to that, because I don't want to not use my brain. I want to use my brain. I want to use reasoning. I want to use logic. And if you're telling me I'm not allowed to do it for this particular thing, then I don't want that particular thing. In this case, faith. I don't need it. I don't want it. I don't care about it. Because it's irrelevant to me if I can't use the things that work for everything else in my life on that thing. So that's a problem. Also, B.S. Lewis in the house asking what a brain is. I don't know what a brain is. Why are you asking me for? Have you ever seen a brain? Looks like broccoli or cauliflower. Why would it look like that? Obviously, broccoli and cauliflower are micro brains and you shouldn't eat them. Okay, that didn't make any sense. Let's watch the video though.
Really loved that, and I want to leave you with that today. Is that maybe they are going to eventually come to the same conclusion. You know, the more science that
Yeah,
comes out, I find that it actually supports a lot of my faith.
but yet the scientists, the more scientific somebody has, the more scientific somebody has, the more somebody knows about science, the less belief they seem to have. The belief in scientists is really low. I mean, it's still there, but it's really low. And usually it's the scientists that aren't doing science anymore that have an active apologetic, like Lennox, for example, who did some math way back in the day and then never contributed to science again and started talking about Jesus. It's like, oh, look, I got a PhD in mathematics. I barely used it. Let's talk about God. Like, anyways, yeah.
And eventually, I hope one day that we can truly understand that science and religion, like what's in the Bible and what people, have peer reviewed in the scientific community, will eventually come to this beautiful point where they intersect.
Well, that's not going to happen. The science has already disproved much of the Bible, if not, I don't know how much, but a lot of it. So we know that there was no Adam and Eve. We know there was no global flood. We know that there was no Exodus. And it appears that the Jews were never captured by Egyptians. This came across my desk a while back, and I didn't go deep into it, so I could be wrong, but it seems like there's evidence to suggest that no, the Egyptians didn't have Jewish slaves at all. And so that is a complete myth. Um, there was no Moses, no Noah. Probably maybe there was an Abraham, but I don't know. So um, what other events from the Bible didn't happen? Oh, Sodom and Gomorrah. So they've found Sodom and Gomorrah a couple of times, 2 or 3 different times, and said, "Oh, look, this burnt city proves it. This burnt city proves it, or this." And none of them do. None of them actually match what you would expect to find according to the story. Um, the stars not moving in the sky and things like that. That's disproven by science. There was supposedly an earthquake when Jesus came back from the dead, but there's no recorded earthquakes by any historian at the time. Now, of course, apologists try desperately to find evidence that there was earthquakes in the time of Jesus, and it's like there was shifting of the earth that could have been an earthquake. Yeah, but when? Like, we can't really narrow that down, so we don't really know. It's kind of inconclusive. But the fact that nobody wrote about it is, kind of a striking thing because people would have noticed an earthquake. The sky darkening or a solar eclipse, that would have been recorded, and that can be known through science. So we could align when a solar eclipse and an earthquake happened and figure out when Jesus supposedly came back from the dead or died or whichever one it is now. But that hasn't been done yet. But apologists will try desperately to find evidence for things. Um, no chariots were ever found at the bottom of of the Red Sea, and again, people faked that. People, there's going to be a documentary coming out again where they supposedly walk the trail that Jesus walked. You don't know where Jesus walked. Nobody knows where Jesus walked. Nobody knows that Jesus was actually even there to do anything at all because it's a story. It's not something that necessarily happened for real. Science shows us that people don't come back from the dead. Not like when they're really super dead. Like if they're close to death, and with modern medicine, sometimes people recover, but usually those are misdiagnoses about death and things like this. And but it's not like after 2 days that somebody comes back from the dead. That doesn't happen. We know that. So science has disproven a lot, if not all, of the Bible, and if not, in history as well, archaeology. You guys have nothing to support your ideas. So you're just pretending that science will one day line up with the Bible. It's actually more likely that the Bible will have to be rewritten in order to be more aligned with science.
And I don't think that science is, only negative, as in it tears apart religion, or that it's only used for positive, like it proves, the existence. I think it could be used either way. I think it's a tool, and just like you can use a knife to hurt someone and take their life, or you can use the knife as like a scalpel and save someone's life during surgery. I think it's very similar. Science is a tool, and if you want to use it for, negative intentions, you can. And if you want to use it to kind of um, add an extra layer of scientific proof in your faith, I think it's great. But honestly, I wouldn't be too cognitive with it. I would try to keep God in your heart.
Yeah, yeah. Again, keep it all about those feelings. Don't think too much. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can use it to somehow. I'm not really sure how, but yes, you could use it, but you could use it in a bad way. So just keep it in your heart. Just believe, just feel like you're right. Don't think too much. It's really hard to use your brain all the time. Trusty Ape in the house. Thomas Rutledge in the house. I don't know why I'm doing that. I'm not going to do that ever again, where I say somebody's name in the house. That's just that. That was inappropriate, and I apologize. Deconverted man in the house. Okay, that was it. Last time, I swear. I really want to do it again. Anyways, all right, back to James' journey with Jesus.
First and foremost, I think a lot of people are trying to be very academic and mental when it comes to their religious practice. And I feel like it's almost a
Turn off
misstep
your
in a way
brain.
that you will have so much more peace and faith if you just allow God in your heart
Yeah,
and
just
not
believe. Yeah,
necessarily
yeah. Just
make
stop
it all
thinking.
about
Yeah,
your
see.
brain. We
Yeah,
love to
yeah.
make things about,
Don't make it about your
in
brain.
our brain. We try to,
Yeah, yeah,
instead of just like working out,
uh huh.
we try to think our way
Oh,
into being
don't
good
think.
shape,
Yeah, don't
and
think.
instead of
Yeah,
just
no.
doing the things that, you know, you should do,
Mm,
we end up trying to use our
yeah.
brain to compensate because
Yeah, don't do
we're
that.
amazing
Don't use your
creatures. We
brain.
have
Don't
a
use your brain.
very
Got it.
advanced
Uh
brain
huh. Don't use
comparatively to
that
other
brain.
animals,
Yeah,
and
stop
I think we
thinking.
misuse it a lot
Don't,
of
don't,
times. We
don't. Yeah,
use
stop
it
misusing
for
your
things
brain.
that actually do us a
Brain isn't used
disservice,
for
like
faith. Stop
trying
using
to
brain
use
for
our
faith. Got it.
brain to
Don't use
prove
brain for
God
faith.
instead of
Don't
just
don't
allowing all the miracles that are around you to really
don't
seep into your heart,
use.
when you can
Let's
see
see.
just how
Don't
everything in
use
your life is
brain
connected
for
and
faith.
how everything
Got
has
it.
been leading up to this brighter future.
Uh huh.
You can just
Right.
let
Just
that
just
sink in.
believe
You don't
it.
have to,
Yeah. No, don't think
rationalize
about it. No, don't
everything and have to know
rationalize.
the,
Yeah.
you know,
No, don't.
proof about the beginning
Yeah,
of
there's
time in
proof.
order to believe
Whatever.
that
Yeah.
there's miracles happening around us at
Miracles.
all
Yeah, yeah.
times.
Believe in the miracles. What
Anyway, I
miracles?
really
I
want
don't
to know
know.
what you have to think. Like this person said,
Don't think
please
though. You
give
said not.
reasons
Wait a minute.
against their
Hold on.
argument.
Why? Wait. You can't know what I. Why would you care what I think? What about what I feel? That's what's important. How do I know that I'm not using my brain in the wrong way? If I tell you what I think, like I'm just supposed to feel stuff. So, um, Yeah.
they would love to respond. I'm sure people in
Yeah.
the comment sections would love to hear it too.
Uh-huh.
Let me know what you
Yeah.
think. And
All
as
right.
always, I hope you're having a very blessed day. I'll see you next time. Peace.
Ah, okay, I'll let you know what I think in this video that you're not going to watch. I know you're not going to watch it. So, because I know you're not going to watch it, I could say anything about this guy and he'll never know because he's not going to watch this video. Anyways, that wasn't really anything that I said about him. I just made faces at him. I can't think of anything to say about him. Basically, turn off your brain. That's the message I got. Did you get a different message from this? Paul Kim is in the house. Oh, damn it. I just broke the thing I said I wasn't going to do. Oh. I can't stick to my own things. Oh. Anyways, all right. So that's it. I guess at least this guy pretty much was honest in regards of what faith is. Just turn off your brain and feel like there's a God. Okay. I haven't found any videos to do much with lately. I'm still complaining about it because, I mean, I need content, man. Where's all the content? Like, look at this stuff. Let me complain about this for a moment. Like, okay, you start up here, right? Like, evidence God, right? So we got Ken Ham saying a bunch of bullshit. He's just basically, this video is the watchmaker argument. That's it. That's what his whole video is. And then evidence for God, even atheists won't admit, with this guy, Dr. John Berger or whatever. And there's no evidence in here. It's just a cosmological argument. Talking about the fucking Shroud of Turin, which I don't care about because that's been debunked a billion times. I don't care about it. Scientists share new discoveries pointing to God. No, they don't. DNA isn't proof of anything. So that's nothing. Evidence that God exists. Well, this is okay. Well, wait a minute. I didn't listen to this. It's just all audio. So maybe I'll. Oh, it's shown in the Bible to prove that God exists. So, okay, so it's a circular argument. Cliff's best debate. So this is an old debate that happened. Goodness knows when. I don't know. Maybe something to comment about. Just did that video. Then it's an atheist talking about stuff. Then I don't know, something else. Scientists give stunning evidence for God using science. Really? No, it's not. Oh, it's this guy, Hugh Ross, whatever. And it's not going to be any evidence. It's going to be like fine tuning or whatever. Scientific evidence of God. Oh my God. And it's probably just like fine tuning. It's probably an AI at this point. I don't know. An atheist experience thing. Oh, it's a stupid short, natural evidence for God's existence. Probably just watchmaker argument. Let's see. Fact files. Is God real? Facts, myths, and evidence from ancient texts and archaeological discoveries. Maybe that's something worth doing. I don't know. I mean, it's hard. That's all I'm saying. It's like, you know, because all it can do is just go, that's wrong. I want to do more. It's just, I think they've given up. Maybe, I don't know. Have theists given up? Have the apologists all just kind of given up on trying to prove God? Seems like it. I mean, in a way, it's good because if they're admitting that faith is just believe and not think, that is good in a way because people will hear that and maybe realize, wait a minute, that's not a good idea. We need to use our brain. We need to be able to use logic and reason and science. I don't think it's, if God is a real thing in the real world, we need God to investigate in the first place. And we don't have that. What we have is descriptions that humans have come up with of what God is, and then working backwards from that assumption, they then try to argue for God. You can't prove God in that way because you don't have a thing to prove. You have a definition. That's not good enough. If God is whatever made the universe, then if nothing made the universe, then there isn't a God. If the universe just has always been, depending on what we mean by universe, might change that. But if it's just natural phenomenon, or like the singularity simply always existed, or that singularities begin to exist because that's the nature of reality collapsing in on itself or whatever, then there's no need for a thing to make the universe other than just reality. And so then reality becomes God. But usually people anthropomorphize God into a thinking agent that wants to interact with us in some way, shape, or form, and then make up all sorts of excuses as to why God isn't just obvious and evidential 24/7. Um, One classical sort of argument that's come up about God's hiddenness is that, well, if God was obvious, then you couldn't really behave morally. And I thought about that. I was like, no, no, because you're assuming that God cares about what we do. That's first of all. But then secondly, well, God could have set it up so that we don't know that God cares about what we do. That God's obvious from the start, but in regards to moral actions, that you'd be like, hey, God, is this good or bad? And God could say, I don't have an opinion. Or it could say, what do you think? Or not respond to that at all. Or, there's a zillion ways that God could act that would allow us to have freedom to do X or Z without worrying about God constantly watching us. um or maybe God's visible but kind of like dims, you know and fades kind of into the background as you go about your day, so that you kind of forget that it's there, so that you do your thing and you're like, but a lot of religions aren't about what you do, it's about what you believe. Christianity is contingent upon a belief in a particular version of God manifesting itself in a particular way, and believing that that's true, and then believing other things about that belief rather than about doing good or bad. Judaism is closer to doing good or bad, more closer to trying to be a good person or a serious man, as they might put it. And they got that idea from Zoroastrianism, which predates Judaism and Christianity by a lot. And a lot of the ideas that appear in the Old Testament are inspired or ripped off from Zoroastrianism and other pagan and miscellaneous beliefs that existed at the time. So the idea of you doing good and then going to the good place, or doing bad and going to the bad place, that's completely from Zoroastrianism. It doesn't rely on you believing in God at all. Your judgment is based upon your behavior in life, and that mimicked in Hinduism. That karma is a thing. So if you do something bad, if you're not punished in this life, you'll be punished in the next life. Um, so if you do good, maybe you'll get the good now, but maybe you'll get it later on. But the ultimate goal of nirvana is to rejoin the ultimate nothing of existence, and that's nirvana. And it's like, so they get it pretty darn close as far as the end result, but they get a lot of other things wrong. So every system of belief is different, but many of them are about what happens after we die, which there's what we can know from science about that, and then there's maybe there's some room for I don't know there, but everything from neurology and personality and psychology, etc., seems to suggest that when we die, that's that's it. And you're just not. And I don't like that. I don't like that idea. It really doesn't sit well with me. Even though I've technically experienced it because I've gone under in surgery. So I've experienced what it's like to not be, and it wasn't anything. I wasn't even aware that I wasn't aware. And it didn't hurt, there was just nothing there. And it's like, but when I go to sleep, if I don't have a dream and I just wake up, it's like, there was no me from here to here. And it's just like, yeah, that's normal. It's just something we do and we don't think twice about it. But in those moments when you're sound asleep and having no dreams, you don't exist in a sense. So, of course, you exist for other people, but, the you that is actively aware that you are a thing isn't there to be aware that you are a thing. And then you're not even aware that you're not aware because you're not aware. So is that what it's like? Seems like it. If not, well, where's that room for wiggle room? I don't know. That's something that you would necessarily find in science, but would find in philosophy, metaphysics, or just pure hope that there's something more, that there's a bonus round or whatever. That'd be great. All right. But then a lot of religions about just believe in the religion so that the religion will sustain itself. It only exists as long as people believe in it. Now, Zeus, we still know about Zeus, but how many people believe in Zeus? Like, really believe? Like, maybe a couple people out there that are, just weird and just want to believe because whatever. Maybe one or two dudes, maybe 10, 20. I don't know what the number would be, but it's a very low number, right? Because it only mattered when people believed in it. And once people stop believing in it, it's dead. It goes away. We don't care anymore. And the same thing will happen to Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, Islam. All the religions will eventually fade away. But if humans continue to need or want, or however we want to put it, religion, we will make something to replace it. And some secular people have tried to come up with things to do that, whether they be a secular church that mimics a non-secular church and everything except for God speak, or having secular humanism or whatever philosophy about humans and how to deal with them, the different worldview. Now, I'm my skepticism kind of prevents me from joining any of those sort of systems because I don't know that they're fully true. They say things that I'm not sure that I can really prove or quantify. So it's for me, it's like, well, I exist right now, so I'm going to do something with that. And hopefully it adds to humanity in some small way. Maybe it entertains you that's watching this. Maybe you get a laugh, or maybe you think about, oh, that's an interesting idea. Maybe you come up with a video because of it, or something to write about, or something to draw or paint or whatever, hopefully. I mean, why do we listen to each other, even though I know what Captive Desk is going to say about Ken Ham, but I still listen to his video. Why? Because it's interesting. Because I want to hear what he has to say exactly. Like, I don't know what he's going to say exactly. I know he's going to be like, he's wrong, but how wrong is he? And it'd be funny if he gets it right. That'd be cool. Let's see. So we like that. We entertain each other, and that's a great thing. And not all of us do. Some of us are just typing stuff or whatever. And that's fine. There's room for all of that here on this weird thing that we call the internet, where we all interact with each other to some degree or the other. And none of that needs a religion. None of that really needs any particular worldview. And none of that really needs anything more than just us to be civil to each other, which I suck at because sometimes I just suck at that. And, you know, it happens. So, in case I'm an asshole later on, I apologize for future asshole me. Just remember, that me is not me. The asshole me is asshole me. But this me is not asshole me. So, just, separate. If I'm an asshole, that's because it's not me. It's like, it's my twin evil brother. Yes, that's it. It's an identical person to me that looks like me and sounds like me, but isn't me and wants to ruin me. Yes. Now I don't have to take responsibility. This should be the religion. Anyways, I don't know where I'm going with any of this now. I'm just in a tangent, and I don't know how to say anything anymore. What am I saying? Oh, Captive Desk is doing lobster big feet at me. All right. Yes, read the Lobsterist. In fact, I dare you to debunk the Lobsterist. Nobody has even tried to do it. And no, I keep telling people to do it, but no, nobody's done it yet. One day somebody will be like, okay, it's time to debunk the Lobsterist. And I'll be like, oh, it's happening. It's happening. Ah! And then nobody will care about that video because they'll be like, what are you talking about? Why are you giving Deconverted Man attention? Screw him.